5 seconds. Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Vice Chancellor, members of the academic bodies of the Bangalore University, and most important of all, graduates of the year, I am very happy to be with you this evening to share with you the hopes and aspirations, as also doubts and fears, which you must be having on the threshold of your entry into the real world that lies outside the university. Before I begin the customary address, I must thank the Chancellor and Vice Chancellor for having honored me with this invitation. I feel particularly gratified for I am now a local man and a permanent resident of Bangalore city. I hope that my young friends, the fresh graduates of the year, will forgive me for depriving them of the opportunity to hear an outside speaker. I trust they will bear with me in what I shall try to make short address. The world into which our young people have to enter for their work and living is quite different from that of people like myself when we were young. Then our country was not independent. The number of universities were less than 20. The number of colleges could be counted only in hundreds, while that of college students was just a few lakhs. The country was not industrialized and domestic food supply was insufficient for domestic requirements. The rate of economic growth was less than 2%. There was no rise in the standard of living of our people, and the number of people living below the poverty line was many millions. But there was strong unifying ideology that linked both the rich and the poor, the classes and the masses, the urban and the rural, which was the desire for Swaraj. In spite of poverty, low level of industrialization and low level of facilities for higher education, life was exciting and challenging for the fresh graduates, and it was full of hope and confidence in the future. Today, we are a free and independent country. Industrialization as well as facilities for higher education have increased manifold. The rate of economic growth has doubled. The per capita national income has been risen, and there is a remarkable improvement in the standard of living of vast numbers of our people. True, we are still not self sufficient in food supply, and we still have many millions of people below the poverty line, but there has been a significant improvement in the national economy and an honored place for the country in the international community of independent nations. The new world in which our fresh graduates will be entering should therefore be full of opportunities, more exciting and challenging, full of hope and confidence than what people like myself experienced when we were young. Higher education involves equipping the student with knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values, and none of these can be neglected without peril to the entire system. I shall also deal with these components of higher education in the order in which I have listed them. Acquisition of knowledge is accepted by everybody as a basic component of higher education. We have to take cognizance of the fact that knowledge is dynamic, and so is the world outside where we seek to apply our knowledge. At the same time, it is just not possible to transfer all the knowledge we have to the student, while it is obviously impossible to transfer knowledge that is still to be born. Under the circumstances, the educational technology we employ should not only be directed towards creating in the student the inclination and capacity to acquire additional knowledge and keep himself up to date in his chosen field. Education is the at least as important as defense. I would say more important, because while defense is needed for survival, education is needed not only for survival but also for growth and development. It has long been the complaint that the educated man in India shuns manual work, thinks it is beneath his dignity to undertake it, and believes that this should be done by illiterate persons, or at any rate by persons having educational attainment below the collegiate standard. In a country like India, where the vast majority of people live by manual labor, this attitude tends to widen the existing gulf between the small minority of those who have received higher education and the majority who have not. The scant respect for manual labor and the disinclination to undertake it on the part of persons who have received higher education seem to be a special attribute of the Indian way of life. but this tendency cannot work in a modern society. It becomes the responsibility of educational administration to so change their style of work so as to give proper recognition to the dignity of manual labor, and it is also necessary to incorporate into the educational process some measure of manual work. Willingness to undertake manual work is not the only attitude that needs to be inculcated during the process of higher education. We also need fresh graduates to understand that the world they are entering into is a multilingual, multi-religious, and multi-caste India with regions differing in natural resources and economic and social development. Higher education has no meaning or justification if it does not inculcate the right values in its pupils. Man does not live by bread alone, nor does a body without a soul give real life to the individual. Education is not just an instrument for the promotion of material welfare, nor for knowing the art of living in society. It has to give the individual an awareness of the potential of his personality and the possibilities it offers for his rising in the scale of truth, beauty, and goodness, and fulfilling himself in dedication to God and service of man. It is the task of higher education to see that those who pass through the portals of the universities get imbued with the right values during their educational training. I must apologize to the distinguished assembly and especially to the young graduates for my lengthy address. Here I am speaking as an educationist, and my theme has been how to remold higher education so as to enable those who receive it to face the challenges of life outside the universities.